So I look around the GT offices. We're trying to grab like who's my Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
Not only Star Wars, who's my Star Wars Battlefront guy? Don likes Star Wars Battlefront. Don doesn't always like getting in front of the camera.
That's true.
But you're always willing to, Blair. And you like Star Wars. Do you like Battlefront more than Star Wars? Are you more into the military side of the conflict?
No, definitely not. But it's just really cool to. It's the guilty pleasure part of Star Wars, in my opinion, because Battlefront is always the kind of let's go fight in that battle, but instead of just being stormtroopers versus the rebels, how about Darth Vader shows up, right? And we saw that in the trailer today, which is fantastic, by the way. I just want to say that.
And they have announced that the Battle of Jakku, which is the new planet that was announced yesterday, that's getting its own DLC. And like, there is that part of me that doesn't want Battlefront to really focus on story. Like, people are really trying to freak out and figure out like where is it. Like, they've announced that there's no prequel content, that it's somewhere like right before the new trilogy. It's either right before the new trilogy or in between 4 and 5. But it's really heavily geared towards like classic trilogy and then like a little bit of the new stuff.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, just what you said, like I like the nonsense of Battlefront. That was always the best, with like Darth Maul and Tatooine would go running through the cantina. Like, sure, that never actually happened, but who cares?
Right, exactly. No, that was perfect. And like the more recent Battlefront games had the Jedi only or heroes only, or heroes and villains only or whatever. And so there's just a ton of Jedi, Sith, and bounty hunters running around the battlefield shooting each other up. It's mindless fun.
So I checked out Battlefront at a gameplay reveal yesterday. They showed the trailer at the end of it, and they started with I remember what they called it. I think it was like ATST attack. And it was, or AT-AT attack. And it was basically you starting at one point in the forest and getting all the way through to where that AT-AT was that they show in the trailer, and then you take it down, and they had that like multi-stage like crash when it fell to the bottom of the forest floor. And then there was computers that I don't know if this is like the only win state, but there were terminals that they turned back online, and that's what activated the Y-Wings to bomb.
Interesting.
So like those weren't actual players.
That's what I was wondering.
No, yeah, that was just I imagine like they didn't show the perspective of those other players, like that you just have to like, hey, we're over here, and like trigger the terminals, and then just like get to them. But speeder bikes were definitely players. There was one great moment in the gameplay where a speeder bike went right in front of the guy and he took him out. And so it's just kind of fun to think like, if you're on a speeder bike, you can shoot at people, but like I imagine you can just clip a trooper and take them out that way if you're going fast enough, hopefully.
So it seems like, at least so far from what you can tell, is that the Battlefield arena fits very nicely into Battlefront.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a stretch for DICE to work on this, for sure. And I think one of the big things, it seems to be their big focus that they talked about a lot yesterday, was, okay, so now this team that's done Battlefield is now going over to the Star Wars universe. Like, how genuine is this going to be? How authentic is this going to be? And they showed... at last E3 or the E3 before that, I think it was last E3, they showed, we went into the archives, we took pictures of everything, and this time around yesterday, they really talked about the music archives. They're like, we got the actual like original prints of like all of this, the audio lines of dialogue and sound effects and stuff like that. So really the sound is actually what I was most impressed with. Like, the graphics looked good, didn't look as good as the thing they showed at E3, because the stuff they showed at E3 was like photorealistic, you looked at those leaves of grass and it's like, that's a leaf of grass. Whereas like they start up the like Electronic Arts Presents right at the beginning of the gameplay demo, and the leaves look like a bush in a video game. There's definitely that clear line of like, okay, that was created in a 3D environment. It still looks gorgeous. Smoke looks really great. Explosions look really great. The end of the trailer where it's like on where did Obi-Wan and Anakin fight? Mustafar Mustafar looked like way more volcano-y. I don't know exactly what that planet is where they're fighting at the end, but that seemed okay. I'd buy that. Like just that scale and like that actually being the size of the battlefield. They mentioned there's no space battles, so all of that we saw canyons and surface stuff. And like we were talking about earlier, they definitely are playing up heroes. I think they're being coy about it now with just like, we have heroes in the game, but we're not mentioning anybody. But it's like, why hold back? Like, why wouldn't you have tons of characters in there? And are we going to get different versions? Are we just getting old Han? Are we getting young Han? Are we getting both? Are we getting old Obi-Wan? Are we getting young Obi-Wan? Are we getting both?
That's interesting because you look back at the previous games, which obviously not a whole lot needs to come over. Like just the concept is there, right? But Imagine being on this team, first of all, right? Because you're used to making Battlefield, you're used to making wartime shooters, and then you're told, we're going to work on Star Wars now. Yeah, of course. Of course, these guys are going to absolutely love it, and they're going to try to make it as accurate as possible to all of them. They're probably going to want to include as much as possible. I can't see them not including things like that. Old Han for the new movie.
Sure.
Definitely.
They were pretty giddy, and it was funny. It was kind of like being like a 5-year-old, like you're waiting for this thing to start with everybody, especially like after seeing like the trailer for Force Awakens. It was just like the whole day was like, yeah, it's more.
Yeah.
And they had the area where we sat to watch the demonstration looked like the debriefing room in Return of the Jedi, where they bring everybody in. So they had like the stance. It was kind of fun, like sitting in that room. I think it was really smart to show Boba Fett in the trailer because like Jedi definitely makes sense.
Yep.
Like his reveal in the gameplay demo, you get into the shield generator room on Endor, and like the whole perspective changes because it's like the music drops out, the sound is now really quiet. You know, it's just you like going through the hallways and just like, okay, and the guy in front of you turns and gets force choked right in front of you and gets thrown, and then like the character turns around the corner and like Vader just runs up and takes him out. So it was like, okay, Jedi characters, that makes sense. Obviously, the Force Awakens, obviously like Jedi are going to be a major focus in the new film. And so showing Boba Fett being like, no, when we say hero, we mean any of these classic characters. Yeah. That's not just a general troop that you play. So just knocking off other gameplay things, in case you hadn't heard, there's a partner mode where you can sync up with another player, and that is your quote-unquote partner, and you share unlocks. So if you've unlocked some things that they haven't and vice versa, then you can like share those weapons and share those abilities and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah, depending on if you can like find somebody specifically, if you're playing on PC or on a console, that's just like, this is my buddy that I'm playing with all the time. If you have two friends, they're like, oops, I guess like one of you's got to find somebody. Yeah, and I don't know how permanent that is, if you like set that up, and or if you can just click that anytime. If it like, you select a partner before a fight, and then that's really all that matters is just.
I suppose that would make sense. Fight. Yeah, when you go into it, that's when you're selecting you know whatever your unlocks are or whatever your perks are, that sort of a thing. Compared
to other games where you actually pick up weapons, I guess it's the same thing, but there are power-ups, and the one I saw him pick up was a rocket launcher, which would seem like a loadout. It would seem like that would maybe be like the type of trooper that you would pick as one that would have that. But while he was just running around on Endor, he like went into a little space in between trees and grabbed a rocket launcher.
A lot of recent multiplayer shooters are doing that. Even Battlefield, Hardline has that, where you don't really take a heavy into battle. You just go and pick it up off the map and then use it until it's done.
So there's a guy with a jetpack that did a jump move that he did in the gameplay demo and did in the trailer. So it was very rehearsed, but like. Did he like jumped up in the air and rocketed an ATST, and so I don't know if that jetpack is the class or if that's a power up.
Traditionally speaking, that has been the case. If you recall the past previous Battlefront games, where you pick a class with those certain strengths and weaknesses and stuff like that.
So how classes break up, I don't know. Like how diverse that is. If you can like kind of build your own class, or if you just like unlock those weapons or abilities, or if you just pick them up on the battlefield, I'm not sure. Yeah, they announced Jakku. We saw Hoth, but we kind of knew that already. That was in the teaser. We knew Endor was coming because they had shown footage, whether we knew that was gameplay or not. And there's a new, I don't remember the name of the actual like software that they're using, but there's a new sound system that they're using for 3D sound, which I want to like relay the information that he said, but the information that he said was just like, it sounds better, basically. It's just like the way it positions sound when you're in 3D space. Like, okay, whatever. But it did sound really good. They really played up you like walking under an AT-AT and this thing like, you know, slamming down. And so it's just rare I go see a game at an event and they're like, if there was a time for you to upgrade your sound system, it's probably for this game. Because it's one thing if you play... you know, if I'm like going through a city in Battlefield, it's like I've heard buildings collapse before, I've heard tanks explode before, I've heard gunfire whizzing by my head before. But there's something about like hearing those sound effects, hearing lightsabers, hearing
the blasters,
TIE fighters and X-wings and those specific types of explosions and even like lines of dialogue and stuff like that. Like if there's a way that you can more immerse yourself in that world, I think it's smart for them to sell it. This didn't make our top 10 anticipated list of this year.
Yeah,
it was
I don't
one of
think
those
we
games
thought it was coming.
When it didn't make it, it was like you and Don and I that were like, oh, yeah, Battlefront. Like we really didn't know anything.
But we didn't know whether it was coming. I mean, we had kind of the same assurances that we had for like Final Fantasy. It's like, oh, sure, yeah, it'll happen.
So,
but it's looking pretty close.
So you just watched the trailer. So you haven't seen the gameplay, but you just watched the trailer.
Correct.
Before. Did your anticipation go up?
Oh yeah, absolutely. No. Wonderful trailer. I suggest everybody watch it again after this. But just the the ramping up, the pacing of going straight to the end of the trailer and just showing you thing after thing after thing, absolutely perfect. I loved it. That's the way to build up hype. I think Huber is probably just not going to stop watching it today. That's a Huber kind of trailer right there.
And I think they did a good job. They there's first person and third person. They did both in the gameplay demo. They kind of split it in the middle. They did first part in first person, the second part in third. And there's one shot in the canyons where they show that in an X-wing where like you're in the cockpit and then he goes to third person. You know, so like if you're a fan of either, the Rogue Squadron games, if you liked going back and forth between those. So yeah, stoked. I think it's just obviously specifically how classes work. If there's any, I imagine there's more maps. Just there's gonna be DLC for this game, out the wazoo. So, but like, I'm sure there's gonna be more maps they haven't announced for launch. Yeah, when exactly we're getting it because we haven't. They don't. Oh no, it's November 17th is what they're saying.
Okay.
Which is a month before, and then December 1st. If you pre-order, you get Battle of Jakku, and then if you don't, it's December 8th, and then Force Awakens is December 18th. So.
Interesting.
Christmas is just Star Wars.
Sounds like a pretty tall order, but
Marvel's got to get all their
excited.
business done in the summer, and then it's just Christmas is all Star Wars. So yeah, if they're able to meet that date, because there's obviously so much more that we have to see, and more heroes. More heroes is like the big thing that I want to see, because like you mentioned before, like having just like Yoda going after Vader, like before, it's like can we do that?
Well, and how expanded do they get? Right, there's several animated TV shows that they've gone through at this point since the last Battlefront game. There have been a lot of expanses to the universe since we've had a Battlefront game.
Right,
it's been a while.
So yeah, hopefully some beta's coming soon. Hopefully we'll be a part of it. Thank you for watching.